views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of BronxNet or the program underwriters.
And hello, everyone, and welcome to Open, the one and only show that opens the Bronx and the rest of the world right to you. I'm your host, Darren Jaime, and today we're going to update you on what's happening in and around our borough, as well as across New York City. Coming up on today's show, we go front and center talking with attorney and host of Today's Verdict, David Lesh. He talks about the recent updates on the court system and what it'll mean for you moving forward. Then afterwards, we'll talk about Fresh Direct's top grocery industry trends to look out for this year. If you're staying at home and buying something, you might want to listen to this. And then also, we'll learn how Potts is offering a variety of comprehensive and personalized services as well to the community. We'll give you more details about that a little later on in the show. And then finally, we'll discuss how a not-for-profit organization is dedicated to providing assistance to single mothers in need throughout New York City. So stay tuned because all this and much more is heading your way. Right now, we're officially open. And welcome to Open. I am Darren Jaime, and today is Wednesday, February 23rd. You're watching Open, a live and interactive program that brings the Bronx and New York City straight to you. We also want to welcome our viewers on Manhattan Neighborhood Network as Open is being broadcast live simultaneously on the MNN channel. Now you can always stay connected to us. Well, just how do you do that? Well, you can go to our website at bronxnet.org and check us out on our social media platforms at BronxNet TV. A lot has been going on throughout the course of this past week. We'll take you through a couple of things with our Bronx updates. We start off with city news, and New York City Mayor Eric Adams announcing a $79 million deployment to the City Summer Youth Employment Program, which will create 100,000 new jobs. Now, the city will be partnering with businesses across the 5 boroughs to give students real-world experience and also curb gang violence throughout the course of the summer. Mayor Adams stated, quote, "We're opening the doors of opportunity for our sons and our daughters of the city that have historically witnessed those doors being shut in their faces. We're kicking those doors open." Well, most city employers will require students to be fully vaccinated, and according to city health data, 37% of people under the age of 18 are fully vaccinated against coronavirus. Now, 84% of 18 to 24-year-olds are fully vaccinated. In other news, Governor Kathy Hochul announced New York plans to reevaluate its mask mandate for schools in March. The governor said it is a very strong possibility that the mandate will be lifted by the second week of March if COVID trends continue to drop. The governor stressed the decision of whether to remove the mask will be based on any single factor, but on a combination of indicators such as positivity rates, vaccinations, as well as hospital admissions. Governor Hochul also informed that state leaders want to wait until after the midwinter recess to decide whether students should continue to cover their faces. Well, that's all the time we have for our Bronx updates. We thank you for listening. But listen, we've got a full show up ahead. Don't go anywhere. Open continues coming up right after this message. welcome back to the show. In recent news, the New York State court system has made a decision to decrease social distancing measures while still requiring face coverings as part of a push to move towards resuming normal operations and to hopefully clear out its backlogs. The question is, moving forward. Well, joining us now to share more information on that and then some, we are pleased to have attorney and host of Today's Verdict right here on BronxNet, David Lesh, who's here with us, and he's also our legal analyst. And so, David, good to have you.
Always good to see you, Darren.
Listen,
backlog. I don't even know where to begin in terms of the cases. There are so many cases that really need to move, that are just sitting in different parts of the courthouse. So the question is, how do we catch up? And that's really what my clients have been asking me. What are we going to do, Mr. Lesh, to move my case along? Because you keep telling me that the court system has been slow. You haven't been able to get in to do different conferences. And, I like my case to settle. And what I tell them is really what I want your viewers to know is, yes, it's true. I have not been in the courthouse to be able to conference cases, but this virtual, world that we've been living in, that we're all living in, is going to continue even after the pandemic. So my preliminary conferences, my compliance conferences, my pretrial conferences, I really think even when the court system kind of gets back to the way it was in terms of moving things along, a lot of these conferences are going to stay virtual the way we are right now, you and I. So what's changing, or what I see changing, is going to be the ability to get more trials done. I think most of these judges who were conferencing your cases through preliminary conferences and the compliant conferences to move discovery along will not be there to do that for us anymore. And they won't be there to move our cases and settle them anymore. When you want to do that, private mediations, working it out with your adversary, but those judges are now going to be assigned, I think, to trial parts. So we're going to have more trials than we've ever had, because trials are what moves the backlog. Because when you have the threat of a trial, that's when money comes on a case, and that's when you eventually settle the case. And if we have more judges available, and we're allowing jurors to come in with masks and attorneys to come in with masks to try the cases, that's how we're going to move the cases. But the conferences that used to be, that's not going to happen anymore. We're going to be conferencing. I have 2 or 3 a day, just like this, where I have an adversary, a judge, a court reporter, a clerk, sometimes my client, and we're all on together talking about ways to move the case, not settle the case, but discovery sometimes. But the way I've been settling cases is through private mediation. So the courthouse is changing. The court system is changing. It's a radical change. You're not going to see lawyers going in there with 100 lawyers packed into a courtroom and waiting to go in front of a desk to see a court attorney to move discovery. Those days are over, because this is working better. But is it going to be better in terms of moving files? That time will tell. And that's, I think, the best answer I can give you in terms of where I think the court system is really going at this point.
I want to switch fronts for a minute and have an opportunity to share with you. Recently, you had an opportunity to talk to Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, and he spoke out in regards to the recent Bronx fire that left 17 dead and others injured. It was one of the most tragic fires that we've seen here in our borough. Take us inside that conversation a little bit with the senator, and what was your takeaway?
Well, he gave me an in-person interview, about 8 minutes, which was nice to meet him downtown in the Midtown office lobby area. And we talked about the legislation he and Richie Torres are sponsoring that would really protect those who are living in these high-rise buildings from the type of tragedy that occurred last month. And that included he was talking about what's called a 4-point plan. And part of that plan includes forcing landlords to have doors that automatically close. And as you know, the failure of the door in question to close was what caused the fire to spread and have all these deaths that occurred. So they would be mandatory that these particular doors would actually close, and that they would go through the legislation. If it passes, the federal legislation, they'd be allowed to go into the New York State buildings, not necessarily Section 8, or only Section 8, but at least with the Section 8 buildings, we know that they'd be. So it's almost letting the federal government into the New York State buildings when it comes to like the Section 8 type of monies there. The second type of way that they would protect the tenants would be to make these smoke heaters. Remember that it was a smoke heater, these portable smoke heater that caught on fire. They'd have a switch that automatically makes the space heater go off no matter what after a certain amount of time. So you couldn't fall asleep with the space heater on. You couldn't leave and go to to the store and leave it on. It would automatically have an off mechanism, which would be very, very important. Sprinklers, that was another very important part of the 4-point plan. Mandatory sprinklers throughout these buildings. A lot of these buildings were built before 1972. There's no mandatory legislation on the books that say you have to have sprinklers. That would be changed. And also a federal government agency would be overlooking how these buildings are being handled. Right now, the federal government doesn't come in. Only New York State, not federal government. So this is a major, major sweeping legislation. And I'm hoping it passes because it's only going to help Bronx residents when it comes to protecting themselves from these tragedies, because we can't have this happen again. And we can. And there's so many rundown buildings in the Bronx that need legislation that will protect their tenants, my clients, our people in the Bronx. And the senator was very open and candid. And you could see how upset he was when he talked about the coffins that he saw, of the little kids he saw in the coffins. So he was very broken up. And it was a strong interview that he gave me. I was, I was moved. I really was.
What can we anticipate coming down the pike, given the fact that we know about this door? We know that people are saying, listen, there's some culpability here by way of lawsuits. Can we begin to see a barrage of lawsuits coming from tenants in that building, possibly even a class action suit?
We've already seen it. We've already seen attorneys file on this, and they're right. They should file. There were a lot of missteps here. A lot of landlords knew about issues within their building. Doors that did not necessarily close, that should close. So, I mean, if they were given notice, certainly. Don't you think that the landlord should be responsible if you told the landlord, hey, my door stays open, and now that door ended up not closing, and because of that, so many people passed away? Yeah, and I see this similar to the Harlem explosion case. I represent a few of the victims of that explosion. I think this could turn into a class action as well. Not necessarily entitled class action, but working as if it's a class action.
Right.
With one judge looking at all these cases together, all of them filed that have the same subject matter, the particular fire in question. I see that happening. And it's going to be, I'm sure, years and years of legislation, years and years of litigation before we finally find out where we're heading with respect to the fire.
You kind of answered my question there, because when we talked about litigation, we just began the segment talking about the backlog of cases. But given the fact that this is recent, and I know it's on the hearts and minds of a lot of people, and people are looking for justice and some answers and possibly some reciprocity in a quick kind of way, you can anticipate that in this particular case, with regards to this particular fire, that we'll be at this for years.
Years, 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe longer. I mean, when you have, these many people who've been impacted, who died tragically, money just doesn't, flow. It's a lot of deposition testimony that has to be taken, medicals, history, economic loss, what type of work the person did, so much. So yes, unfortunately, it will take years for a tragedy like this to really, to get to the point where hopefully the case settles. And if it doesn't settle, the lawyers will try the case in the process.
What's it like for you? I mean, given the fact that we've been talking about this backlog, I know that you've got clients that you're representing. You've got things that you really have that you want to put on the table, and some stuff that's still hanging in abeyance. What's it been like for you as a lawyer, as we're prayerfully coming towards the end of this pandemic, but yet and still not to the end of the lingering effects?
Well, it's been the same type of thing. We've been, my brother and I and my father, we've been able to move our cases that are, usually somewhere between a 50,000, let's say, to a $250,000 settlement. We're able to move them fairly easily. It's the ones that are over $500,000 that are worth that kind of money. $500,000, $1 million, those really big cases, they're tougher to move because you need the threat of a trial to move those cases. And they're just such a backlog. So those cases are tougher, and we've been going to private mediation to see if we can be able to do that, and the clients know it. But certainly the cases that are worth below 250, we've been settling those cases. Everyone's been wanting to settle those cases, so my clients have been happy, and we have been getting in, new work, new business. People are out there again, and unfortunately they're having accidents. Things are happening. So, as a firm, we're kind of really back to where we were in terms of, and how we're working. Our staff is still working hard here, and we're always here for our clients. We always have been here since 1963, and to still be here. Go Brown.
We talked before the last time that we gathered, and we said that your advice to clients sometimes is, if you're looking for some sort of answer, you probably want to take the settle route, except in extreme cases. Do you still abide by that thought?
I do. I always find settling cases a lot of times is in your best interest. Now, if you're not being offered the true value or close to the true value, then no, then you wait it out. But if you need the money, you're not doing well financially, you can't get a loan, can't get food on the table, and sometimes it pays to take the settlement. You take the money that's on the table. Don't wait 2 years, 3 years. City of New York, you might wait 4 years, 5 years now. You take the money. And I discuss it with my clients, but ultimately I work for them. They're the boss. But a lot of times that's my advice. They ask me my advice, and that's what I tell them. I say to them, look, I have 600, 700 cases, 800 cases in my office. I can afford to lose this case. I can afford to not get paid. But can you afford to not get paid to get your money on this case? You only have one case. I have 800 cases if I need to make money off of. This is your one case. Can you really afford not to take this money right now? And that's when they think to themselves, you may be right. And that's when they change their mind.
Yeah. Before we go, talk to me. If somebody's out there right now and they're saying, listen, I've got an issue and I might go before the court system, I bring it to you. Say I've got this legal issue, I bring it to you, and I say, David, I want you to represent me. What's the time frame between the time that I get to you and possibly even getting to a court?
Listen, if I were signing you up right now as a new client, Darren, and I was talking to you, I'd say, look, Darren, I want to tell you, I want to give it to you straight right now. This is going to be a long process. You have at least 2, maybe 3 years minimum before I maybe start seeing money on your case. I said, and that's only because the court's so backlogged that for me to get the pressure on them, it could take that long. It doesn't mean that I can't get a private mediation after a year, once we get your deposition done, and I know what the value of your case is, a year, year and a half. But if things come up and there's discovery issues, or you need a surgery, an additional surgery, it's going to delay the case. So Darren, you got to be patient with me. Okay. I'm there for you. Just because you don't hear from me doesn't mean I'm not working on the case. Just understand that it's going to take some time. It's going to take time for all of us. You just got to be patient. It's a new world we're living in. That's what I would tell you, my new client.
Well, great advice from our legal analyst. That's why we bring you on, to give us a little tips and information to let us know where we are. And certainly we know that just like everything else, there's a backlog. And so we have to be patient with the court system. David Lesh, our legal analyst and also the host of today's verdict, thank you so much for joining us here on Open. Now, tell people before we leave how they can find today's verdict and where they can catch it.
Listen, you can always catch today's verdicts on Friday nights. It airs sometimes at 8, at airtime sometimes at 9. But they repeat it many, many times throughout the Bronx on FiOS, Channel 33, Spectrum, I believe it's 69. They show it in Manhattan. Manhattan picks it up. And you can always Google it. You just Google today's verdict. You can see all our episodes. We've interviewed mayors, all the candidates for mayor, state senators, council people, just interviewed the Senator Schumer. And you have a ton of lawyers. So check it out. Today's verdict, anytime.
All right, David Lesh, we'll leave it there. Good to see you, my brother. Stay safe and best wishes to the family.
You too, Darren, Latricia. It's always good seeing you.
All righty, David Lesh, our guest here on Open. Stay with us. We do have more more open coming up right after this, after I get my tongue untied. We'll be right back in a minute. Welcome back. Fresh Direct is the leading online e-commerce fresh food grocer that's actually serving the Northeast. Now, they recently shared their forecast for the top grocery industry trends for the year 2022. This year's predictions on an up-and-coming products, as well as ingredients and influences, were curated by Fresh Direct's in-house team of food experts. Sharing with us now more details, we got the Vice President of Merchandising at Fresh Direct, Charlotte Meyer. And Charlotte, glad to have you with us.
Thanks for having me, Darren. It's great to be here.
Thank you. And so as we talk about these trends, talk to us about how did they come about?
Yeah, so really every year we forecast what we see as the up and coming food trends for the following year. And what that looks like is just our group of in-house food experts kind of gets together and talks about what we're seeing in the industry, ingredients that have become really popular, consumer trends that we see in our really rich consumer data. And we basically use those insights to forecast what we think is going to be big for the coming year.
Yeah. And so when we talk about some of the things that we see big for the coming year, what are they?
Yeah, so we've got a bunch of really exciting things, I think. The first being that customers are, coming into the third year of the pandemic are really, really aware of health and wellness. So we're seeing a really strong growth in kind of fresh produce, especially immunity boosting produce. So things like turmeric, ginger, citrus, and berries. Consumers are really gravitating towards those really fresh, high quality ingredients to help boost their immune systems, throughout the year.
Yeah. And then also, I know another thing is plant-based stability and sustainability. And when we talk about plant-based sustainability, define that for our viewers.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think another big kind of overarching trend is that consumers are really interested in sustainability and really interested in making choices with their food that helps drive, a lesser impact on the planet and drive sustainability. So plant-based sustainability is really that behavior of eating more plants and eating less kind of meat and dairy. So what that looks like could be using mushrooms as a substitute for beef, for example, or it could be buying something that is really what we would call a plant-based alternative. So a yogurt that's made with coconut milk rather than traditional dairy milk, ice cream that's made with an almond milk base rather than, again, traditional dairy milk. So really across the entire store and across all of the different meal occasions, there are ways to incorporate more plants into your diet. And we're seeing consumers really gravitate towards those options.
Yeah. And then I also want to talk a little bit about Fortune Flavors The Bold. And as bold flavors are out there driving consumer trends, for somebody who doesn't know what bold flavors are, give it to us.
Yeah, absolutely. This is one of my favorites. So I think we're seeing one of the most exciting flavors that we're seeing really show up across all kinds of different products is tahini. And for those who aren't familiar with tahini, it's a paste made from sesame seeds, and it's traditionally been used in hummus, but we're seeing it pop up kind of in all sorts of products, whether it's salad dressing or marinade, to ice creams, cookies, snacks, even being included as a base for plant-based milk now. So it's become a very trendy ingredient, and I'm sure consumers will see it kind of across menus in restaurants and coffee shops and bakeries and in their grocery stores as well.
Yeah. I know that one of the things that you had highlighted also were consumers who are buying according to low waste statistics. And I myself, I'm going to say I'm guilty, right? I don't look at, what's waste and what's low waste, what's high waste, right? I don't look at those things. But there are a lot of people out there who are purchasing in accordance with low waste. So let's break down what low waste is and what are consumers really trending towards?
Yeah, so there have been a lot of really exciting products that have developed over the past several years that actually use a waste product to create a new product. So we carry a couple of brands now. One example is Renewal Mill, which is basically creating gluten-free flours, baking mixes, and cookies out of what was a byproduct of the production of tofu. So all these brands are doing really interesting, innovative things, taking something that would have been destined for the landfill and creating a really nutritious, great consumer-facing product with it. And that is really helping to solve some of the problems of food waste that we do have in our, global food system. So we're seeing customers really learning, helping to reduce our problem of food waste, and really, really gravitating towards those brands.
Talk to me about trafficking. Are you anticipating more trafficking given the fact that we're still coming out of the pandemic? We got more people who are working from home. You've got, so many people who are saying, listen, I'm not yet out on the restaurant scene. I want to play it safe. Are you seeing more traffic come through your doors during this time?
We are, absolutely. We've started off the year really, really strong. I think, online grocery shopping is definitely here to stay. People have formed new habits in this way. And like you said, I think everyone is really excited for restaurants to reopen, and we certainly love all of our local restaurants in New York. But I think some people have really enjoyed cooking more meals at home over the last few years and have really gotten into the habit of doing so. So we definitely see, just continued really strong traffic and lots of customers coming our way, which is exciting.
So if somebody's out there that's saying, listen, I really want to see about how I can go about doing this. And, maybe I do want to, order my food online, like using Fresh Direct. What would be the process for somebody to do that?
Yeah, so you would start out by going to freshdirect.com. And on our site, you'll see kind of the full selection of our grocery offering. So everything from your fresh produce, meat and seafood, all the way to your paper towels and your laundry detergent. Really anything you need to complete your full grocery shop. You can use our search bar to search for whatever you're looking for, or you can shop some of our curated content pages or our curated homepage to find items that are new and kind of exciting and relevant to whatever season it is. So right now, just adding them to your basket and, finding a time slot and checking out. So it's a pretty seamless process.
Yeah. And for somebody who's watching, maybe they don't know, you also have chef prepared meals that are actually available to actually purchase as well.
Absolutely, we do. And those are a great option for, just getting a meal on the table really, really quickly, any time of day. They're all kind of curated and developed by a team of chefs. So the ingredients are really clean and healthy, and the flavors are really kind of innovative and interesting. So those are a great option for everyone.
Yeah. We didn't talk about drinking, and I know that there are some who are interested in non-alcohol and sometimes low alcohol as well. And you predict this to also be a trend that's actually coming up this year.
We do. Yeah. We see a lot of exciting innovation in this space. I think what's interesting is a lot of the sort of care and attention that went into the craft beer movement over the last 10 to 15 years we're now seeing that same kind of curation and craft in the non-alcoholic beer space. So consumers who are interested in cutting back on their consumption can still have a really tasty IPA, for example, that just happens to have had the alcohol removed. So we're seeing a lot of really cool new brands popping up in this space, and it is a really exciting category for those who just, want to drink a little bit less.
Yeah. And so as 2022 is approaching, we're already in it. I mean, we're getting ready to get into almost the third month, first quarter. How do you see things playing out for you for the rest of the year?
I think we'll continue to see really strong consumer interest across all these areas we just talked about. And like I said, I think consumers are really looking online for all of their purchases, and I think they're really attracted to the convenience and the quality of the food delivery that they get through Fresh Direct. So we're forecasting a really big year, and we're kind of well on our way to achieving some of our goals. So we're really excited about 2022. I think lots of good.
And as I'm gonna be optimistic to say we're coming close to being out of this pandemic. And as we look at being almost out of this pandemic, talk to me about the effect that it's actually had on your ability to deliver, on your ability to prepare meals. What's it been like for you?
Yeah, I mean, I certainly hope we're coming out of the pandemic, and that only benefits us in the sense that, you know, our everyone remains healthy, and we can continue to deliver and not face any sort of issues that may come up with another wave. So that will just continue to benefit our business as we kind of move out of this phase of the pandemic, hopefully.
Yeah. Charlotte Meyer, who is the Vice President of Merchandising at Fresh Direct, been our guest here on Open. Want to thank you so much for sharing with us, and continued success throughout the year 2022.
Thank you. Thanks so much for having me, Darren.
You're welcome. Well, we're glad to have you. Listen, I want to let you know, if you want more information, please don't hesitate to visit the website for Fresh Direct. It is freshdirect.com, and then also follow them on social Direct. We do have more show that is coming up, so we encourage you to stay right here because Open continues right after this.
We built a media network for you.
BronxNet TV.
Come learn in your new state-of-the-art studios at Lehman College.
At Mercy College.
And coming soon to the South Bronx in the Hub.
Inspire with your stories, culture, history.
Your Bronx on BronxNet.
Engage with us.
Connect with us at your channels and at BronxNet.tv.
Learn, engage, inspire. BronxNet TV.
From the Bronx
to the world.
BronxNet.
Welcome back. Part of the solution, also known as POTS, is a not-for-profit organization that services comprehensive and personalized services, giving the Bronx an opportunity to fight poverty and hunger. Now, POTS has worked to address all of the symptoms and causes of poverty while also creating a welcoming environment for guests as they journey from crisis to greater stability and security, as well as self-sufficiency. Joining us now and sharing more details, we're pleased to have the Director of Communications, Diego Padilla of POTS. And Diego, it's got to be an exciting time for you as you all are celebrating 40 years of actually bringing service to the borough.
Thank you very much for having me, Darren. And indeed, it's a very joyous opportunity for us to celebrate all of the achievements of our organization, as well as the history of growing up with the community in the Bronx. We're very happy to have an opportunity to share our celebration, as well as to reflect on the messages that our founders and our staff members have been trying to build over the years and trying to achieve in terms of improving the lives of everyone in the community.
And so when we look at some of the work that you do, really attacking the issue of food insecurity, and we know that that's been very huge, particularly during the pandemic. What's it been like for your organization in the area of food insecurity and providing meals to those who are hungry and those who are underserved? I know that's been a great priority for you as well.
Absolutely. In the very early days, our organization again tried to create a loving community for the homeless and food insecure people in the Bronx. In those early days, the first service that our organization tried to connect with was through food, indeed. So they created a soup kitchen. But as soon as we were able to respond to more and more needs, we tried to expand those services to meet other of the needs that we heard from our community and that we continue to hear from our community. So indeed, food security is still a cornerstone of what we do. We also provide dignity and wellness services that address a lot of the basic needs that homeless individuals in the Bronx require, including showers, haircuts, and a mailing address so that they can access public benefits. But we also try to connect the individuals that come to us with further services so that they can have long-term stability. So our long-term stability program also tries to connect them with additional public benefits, and try to connect them with opportunities to improve their lives and achieve long-term goals, including education and employment opportunities. As you said, during the pandemic, our numbers have increased exponentially. And that has meant that we have had to adapt our services and make the conscious decision to remain open and to try to meet that increase in demand. So, for instance, last year, the most recent numbers that I have is that we served nearly 50,000 individuals since the beginning of the pandemic, and we have served over 4.5 million meals again since the pandemic began. So indeed, it's not only we're celebrating our 40th anniversary, but we're also trying to reflect on those achievements and what we have been able to achieve in the community.
Yes, I was looking, one of the statistics that really stood out for me was the fact that you talked about 4 million meals during the pandemic. Almost 3 million of those came just last year. So as we look at food insecurity and we look at the social challenges of a lot of people, they continue to rise. Are you going to be able to meet the demand going forward? Because even though we're coming out of it, we're finding out that there are more and more people that are going to need housing and some security, particularly when we understand that the eviction moratorium is now over, and we've got more people who could potentially be on the homeless side or really in need of services.
Yes, absolutely. I'm provide legal support to prevent eviction for clients. And also we hold regularly workshops to allow our clients to have information about what are the most current updates on the housing court. So we're definitely trying to tackle that specific point that you raised. But in general terms, yes, we are aware that even though we are at the stage in which the pandemic seems to be getting better, the social and economic impacts that are connected to what the pandemic has created for the community will maybe last for years to come. And that has to do with housing security, that has to do with how they face their employment security, that has to do with how they face food insecurity. So indeed, we are expanding our facilities, and we have tried to connect with new partners and new donors to be able to make sure that this promise of creating a loving community that will strive for stability in this population is something that we can still continue to provide. Yes.
And we know that you can't do it by yourself, right? And you spoke about donors being able to be sustainable for 40 years. You've really relied on donors. Talk to us about how can somebody participate in being a part of assisting in the work that you're doing through donations, and how can they support it?
Absolutely. We are at the moment not receiving in-kind donations because of the limitations that COVID-19 has created for us to actually get things in the physical location. But we invite people to visit our website and our social media and join us and follow us. We're constantly sharing ways to participate. We also believe that being or donating to POTS is not something that you can do on a one-time event. You can actually be part of this community, volunteer with us, come and just share with us. This is a place where we try to create community, and the donors are part of it. And the volunteers are also crucial to make that all of the services are available to the public in the kind of numbers that we manage on a single day. Yes.
Yeah. And so as you look forward to 2022, I know the 40-year anniversary is upon us, but talk to us about the services, because you know we got housing, you got food insecurity. And I did fail to mention that when it comes to really taking care of the homeless, you actually do offer free haircuts for people too as well.
That is correct. So for me to give you a full list of services, if we can start with the Dignity and Wellness Program, as I mentioned before, we provide showers, meal, and haircuts. We also host a medical and dental clinic that is provided by Care for the Homeless. We have a food security program that has a food pantry that serves in the mornings, and a community dining room that provides hot meals for the community in the afternoons. And then, as I said, through those entry points, we also try to connect our clients with further services to ensure their long-term stability. And that includes guidance to apply for public benefits like SNAP or unemployment insurance, supportive housing. We also provide guidance for long-term personal growth. That again means we try to connect them with education and employment opportunities. And finally, we have legal services to support their housing and income stability.
So as you look around and you see 40 years of work, and I know you've been with the organization for a while now, what is it that most strikes you about the work that you do?
I think this organization is very special because we are not an organization that provides handouts. We are an organization that tries to really make sure that our clients are part of a community and that they have a place where they feel that they can belong and a group of people that they can rely on. So really that personal connection to our staff and to our volunteers is really important to us, and we really try to foster that type of relationship with our clients. We care about them, and again, there's a distinction between us and them. We try to break it, and there's only us at POTS, and we're all trying to fight poverty and hunger together. And you would see that is very, very common for some of our clients to actually, once they find certain level of stability, to actually volunteer to help others. So again, that type of special relation in which people overcome their circumstances and they try to spread the love or spread the word about what we do is something that I think makes us very special.
Yeah. Food insecurity, hunger, and homelessness are definitely frontline issues that continue to affect so many New Yorkers, but thank you for the work that POTS is doing to really be on the front line, Diego, of handling that. And congratulations on celebrating 40 years, a 40-year anniversary of POTS. We've got the Director of Communication, Diego Padilla, with us, and we thank you so much for being with us here on Open.
Thank you very much for having me.
All right, well, if you want more information about POTS, what we do encourage you to do is please visit their website. All you got to do is go to potsbronx.org, and then also visit them on their social media platforms at POTS Bronx. We've got more show. We encourage you, please don't go anywhere. Open continues coming up right after this.
When taking public transportation, don't touch your phone. Carry hand sanitizer and use it immediately upon leaving the bus or train. Avoid touching your face. If someone is coughing or sneezing, move away. Wash your hands with soap and water as soon as possible. Limit contact with poles. If possible, avoid rush hour. Don't eat or drink on public transportation. Keep your bag off the floor or other surfaces. Avoid directly touching turnstiles. Stay up to date with the latest from your local health department and CDC.
welcome back to the show. According to the U.S. Census Bureau in 2020, out of about 11 million single-parent families with children under the age of 18, 80% of those were headed by single mothers. Moms for Moms is a not-for-profit that's dedicated to providing assistance to single mothers in need throughout New York City. And for the past 7 years, Moms for Moms has served thousands of single mothers across our city. Joining us now to share more details, we've got the founder and the executive director of Moms for Moms NYC, Danielle Krupa. And Danielle, glad to have you sharing with us. And it's a pretty amazing statistic when we look at this, that when we talk about 80% of families are under the age of 18, we're actually moms, single moms.
Yeah, no, the numbers are staggering. And, that's really why we exist in New York, because there's such a need for postpartum and newborn essentials, what we're providing moms. 1 in 3 mothers right now can't afford diapers. And so, we exist to really fill that gap for mothers right now.
And when we talk about filling that gap, it's got to be pretty essential during this time, particularly during the COVID pandemic, where the needs continue to rise. Give us a little bit about the needs that you're actually servicing, particularly now.
Yeah, absolutely. So what we do is we create 2 signature care packages for moms. So we address both postpartum and newborn essentials. So we have our postpartum recovery kit, which is everything a new mom needs for herself after childbirth. So, if you had a vaginal birth, a C-section birth, if you're breastfeeding, all of the essentials that you would need to recover, we have in there. And then we also create our newborn baby bundle, which is everything a new parent would need for their baby. So diapers, wipes, bottles, bibs, blankets, clothing, a first aid kit, you name it, it's all in there.
And that's pretty much a gap stopper for a lot of mothers, because we think that those are basic essentials that everybody has. But as we know, a lot of people struggle with that. And so talk about the difference it makes in the lives of these mothers.
Yeah, I mean, and we say that a lot too. It's like, these are not basics if you can't afford them, And so when we look at the mothers that we're serving across New York City that are, the victims of domestic violence, that are homeless, that are facing job insecurity, teenage pregnancy. There's no programming for these essentials, and these are non-negotiable, items that mothers need. Like, you need diapers. So when you can't use SNAP and WIC to purchase diapers, when there's no government programming for these newborn and postpartum essentials, we're really serving a large population, and we're just scratching the surface with what we're doing. There is such a greater need than we can even keep up with right now.
Yeah. And you talk about negotiating, that's real, right? When we talk about parents who actually have to make these decisions, you got moms out there, and I got to decide between paying the rent or getting these essentials. Sometimes even having a cell phone, right? Because a cell phone is a necessity for the family, or getting these essentials, and they'll choose the other and leave the most basic essentials out for their young baby.
Right. No. I mean, it's a huge problem. And that's why I started Moms for Moms. I'm the daughter of a single mother who, was 19 when she had me, and she struggled, and she worked 3 jobs, and she put herself through school. And I know what she went through. And I know that there were, times when she had to choose between buying diapers for me and food for the table. And, if somebody had just given her just a package of diapers, something as simple as that, it would have been a game changer for her. And so, we really exist to really fill that gap right now for moms.
Yeah. And some of the work that you do is not just for moms that are in the community. You're going to the shelters and providing some necessary resources. Talk about the work that you're doing inside some of these shelters.
Well, so actually we partner with shelters. So what we do is we have a 75% distribution model with partner agencies, where 75% of the bags that we're creating are going to our partner agencies. So they're going to shelters, they're going to crisis centers. We have partners all over 5 boroughs, and then 25% of the bags that we create, we reserve for emergency situations, and we reserve for mothers directly. We have a care package request form on our website where moms can reach out to us directly. And so we're really, with all of the shelters and crisis centers that we're working with, we have those relationships through distribution.
So how do you go about getting all these much needed essentials for these mothers?
So a lot of it we purchased. So I think something that's really special about the work we do and the bags that we create is everything is brand new, unopened. There's a lot of dignity and love and support that goes into these bags. And so we work with brands to get items donated. You know, we fundraise to get items donated. We have a lot of different companies and organizations that will do diaper drives for us and essential drives for us. And then we're buying a lot of it outright. So, you know, we have a lot of different ways that we're getting it all together, but we're making it happen. We just moved into a new office a couple of months ago, which has been really amazing for us to have the capacity to hold all of our inventory, to assemble the bags there, and to be able to distribute from there.
So if somebody wants to help support and say, listen, this is an initiative that really tugs at my heart and I want to be of assistance, how can the public partner with you to be able to meet the needs of these single moms?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're always looking for corporate partners. You know, we have a lot of different companies that will reach out to us and support us that way. But for individuals, you know, we're always in need of volunteers. Volunteers that for assemblies that can pack the bags on assembly days. You know, we have an ambassador program where individuals can host drives in honor of us, and we make it really, really seamless. So, you know, if you want to collect items that we're putting into our bags, we can, you know, take care of all of that work for you. But we're 100% volunteer based too. So our entire team is volunteer based. So if anyone wants to get involved, they can certainly, you know, come to our website, momsformomsnyc.org, and, you know, shoot me an email. Our email's on there, our contact is on there, and we would love for the community to get more involved.
And how's it been for you through the pandemic? I know services have had to ramp up because with people not working, unemployment, food insecurity, the needs become greater.
Yeah, I mean, the needs are huge. And when the pandemic first started, we reached out to all of our partner agencies because we couldn't, you know, physically get together and we couldn't get our bags together. And so we reached out to all of our partners and asked what they were most in need of. And we sent out 15,000 supplies within a month to cover those basic hygiene items that were really, you know, the shelters were struggling to get. You know, since then, we've seen there's just a huge increase in need. You know, like I said, we're right now just scratching the surface of what the need is in New York City, and mothers are really struggling, and a lot of women have lost their jobs. And so we're seeing a really big need for the services that we provide.
Yeah, Danielle, we want to thank you so much. And so for somebody who wants to be able to donate, of course, please give them the information.
Yeah, so you can donate directly on our website. Again, it's momsformomsnyc.org. You can send us an email, info@momsformomsnyc.org. You can find us on all social media platforms at momsformomsnyc. And we'd love to hear from you. We'd love for people to get involved.
Yeah, Danielle, great work that you're doing. Thank you for bridging the gap and meeting the needs for so many people who are really in it in a time like this. Thanks again for being with us, Danielle Krupa. Thank you.
Thank you.
All righty. Well, again, I'll give you the information. Danielle gave it to you. I'm going to give it to you, too. If you want to donate or you want to find out more, please visit the website, momsformomsnyc.org. And then also on social media platforms, Mom for Moms NYC. Well, we've come to the end of today's show. I want to thank all of our guests for joining us and you, the viewer, for tuning in. Now, if you missed any part of today's show, of course, you can catch the Recablecast on BronxNet's Channel 67. If you have Verizon Files, that'll be Channel 2133 or anytime on the web at bronxnet.org. We also want to thank all of our viewers who are watching live on MNN, as Open is broadcast live simultaneously on Manhattan Neighborhood Network's channel. And if you desire a brand new episode, I want you to come back on Friday morning. My girl, Rena Valentine, she's gonna be here. She's gonna be joining us, talking about the best in arts and entertainment, bringing you some exciting guests in the world of that culture. But until then, I'm Darren Jaime saying take care, God bless. You've been watching the Wednesday Open. Thanks for joining us.